Coming on the air with a major development in the search for Nancy Guthrie, the mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie. ABC News has confirmed law enforcement is releasing new images of a possible subject in Nancy's disappearance. Authorities believe the 84-year-old was taken from her.
She vanished overnight. The disappearance that has left a nation searching for answers. Imagine dropping your elderly mother off at her front door on an ordinary Tuesday night. She waves goodnight. The garage door closes behind her. And then, she is simply gone. No trace. No explanation. No goodbye. Just an 84-year-old woman who could barely walk 50 yards on her own, vanishing into the dark Arizona night as if the earth itself swallowed her whole. Now imagine that when investigators try to track her phone the following morning, the signal places it 200 miles away. 200 miles. And the woman attached to that phone cannot walk across a parking lot without help. That is not a mystery novel. That is what happened to Nancy Guthrie. And the deeper investigators dig, the more unsettling the picture becomes. It started as an ordinary family evening. Nancy, an 84-year-old woman, had spent the night at her oldest daughter's home in Tucson, Arizona, just 4 miles from her own residence. Dinner, games, laughter. The kind of night that families have hundreds of times without thinking twice about it. Around 9:45 that evening, a family member drove her home. The garage door opened. The garage door closed. She was inside. That should have been the end of the story for that night. An unremarkable ending to an unremarkable evening. Instead, it was the last confirmed moment anyone can account for. What happened inside that house in the hours that followed is the question that has consumed law enforcement, captivated the public, and shattered a family that is still fighting every single day to bring her home. The first piece of the puzzle that didn't fit came at 2:30 in the morning. Nancy had a pacemaker. A medical device that communicated continuously with her smartphone, transmitting real-time heart data. That connection, which runs constantly and reliably, severed at 2:30 a.m. in the world of medical technology, that kind of disconnection has a narrow range of explanations. Either the phone moved far enough away from the pacemaker that the signal broke, meaning the phone and the person were separated, or something disrupted the pacemaker itself. Law enforcement confirmed the timestamp. They did not explain which scenario applied. That silence, in a case already full of unanswered questions, was loud. Then came the phone signal. At approximately 6 in the morning, roughly 3.5 hours after the pacemaker disconnected, a location signal from a device associated with Nancy was detected nearly 200 miles from her Tucson home. Think about what that means geographically. 200 miles south puts you deep into Mexico, past the border crossing at Nogales and into Sonora. 200 miles north brings you to one of the largest cities in the American Southwest. East takes you to New Mexico. West toward the California border. Every direction points somewhere significant. Every direction raises questions that have not been answered. And all of this for a woman who, on the best of days, required assistance to walk any meaningful distance. The physical evidence at her home only deepened the urgency. Investigators found blood on the front porch, confirmed as Nancy's. Signs of forced entry. And footage recovered from her home's doorbell camera, footage that had initially been considered inaccessible because she had not subscribed to cloud storage, was retrieved 9 days into the investigation using federal resources. What it showed stopped everyone cold. At approximately 1:47 in the morning, a figure approached the front door. The person wore a ski mask, dark clothing, a pair of gloves, and a zip-up fleece. A backpack. Already full when they arrived. Hung from their shoulders. A holstered firearm was visible at the hip. What struck analysts reviewing the footage was not just who this person was, but what they did. Rather than disabling the camera efficiently, as someone with real covert experience would have done, they improvised, moving a nearby potted plant in front of the lens in a clumsy attempt to block the view. The mask itself was thin enough that night vision captured partial facial features underneath it. The holster was a generic foam design, not a custom tactical model. This was someone who had planned enough to bring a weapon and a full backpack, but had not planned enough to handle the basic detail of a doorbell camera. Investigators noted the contradiction immediately. This person knew things they should not have known, including the garage code. But they made choices that someone experienced in this kind of operation would never make. That gap between knowledge and execution became one of the most discussed aspects of the entire case. Then came the ransom notes. Multiple communications were sent to media organizations demanding $6 million in Bitcoin by a specific deadline. The choice to contact media outlets rather than the family directly was unusual. Most ransom operations aim for secrecy. Quick payment, quiet resolution, no public exposure. Sending demands to journalists does the opposite. creates visibility. It broadcasts fear. It suggests someone who wanted attention as much as money. Shortly after the doorbell footage became public, a Bitcoin wallet connected to the ransom demand received a deposit. Not $6 million, $300. A fraction so small it functioned less like a payment and more like a signal. Possibly a test to determine whether the wallet was being monitored by law enforcement. Nobody knows who made that deposit. It may have been someone connected to the original demand. It may have been a completely unrelated actor who inserted themselves into the chaos. Either possibility raises its own unsettling questions. If this story is gripping you, if you find yourself needing to know what happened to this woman, this mother, this grandmother who disappeared from her own home in the middle of the night, please share this. Because awareness matters in cases like this. Eyes and ears across the country matter. Someone out there may have a piece of this puzzle they don't even know they're holding. The law enforcement response escalated rapidly in ways that communicated, even without words, how seriously investigators were taking what they had found. Tactical units moved through Tucson toward undisclosed locations. Bomb disposal teams were deployed. And the FBI's hostage rescue team arrived. A unit reserved for the most extreme situations, active kidnappings, armed standoffs, threats that reach beyond what standard investigative resources are built to handle. The presence of that team in what had been publicly described as a missing person case told its own story. A man was detained during a traffic stop south of Tucson, close to the Mexican border. Search warrants were executed at his residence. Electronics were seized. Investigators showed the doorbell footage to a family member who said the person in the mask was not him. He was released without charges. The details of what connected him to the investigation in the first place were never made public. His proximity to the border, and the investigation's growing focus on the possibility of an international crossing, left his role in the case frustratingly undefined. That border question has become one of the most pressing threads in the entire investigation. The FBI reached out to law enforcement partners in Mexico, requesting that the case be shared with local agencies south of the border and expanding the search into international territory. Border surveillance systems were reviewed. Electronic tracking data was examined. So far, no confirmed evidence of a crossing has surfaced. But the absence of evidence is not the same as evidence of absence. If investigators believe Nancy may have been moved across the border, and the evidence suggests they have taken that possibility seriously enough to pursue it actively, the implication is chilling. That there may have been a deliberate delay before any international movement, a holding period during which Nancy was kept somewhere while plans were made, routes were mapped, and timing was calculated. Messages continued arriving at media organizations referencing Mexico. Some claimed first-hand sightings south of the border. Some included escalating threats about what would happen if the ransom was not paid. Law enforcement characterized these communications as being taken seriously while stopping short of confirming their authenticity. Whether they represent genuine intelligence, opportunistic fabrication, or deliberate misdirection designed to muddy the waters is a question investigators are still actively working to answer. In the middle of all of this, Nancy's family has remained publicly present in a way that reflects both love and anguish. Her daughter, a well-known national television anchor, stepped back from work coverage to focus entirely on finding her mother. She has released video after video appealing directly to whoever is responsible, urging them to come forward, telling them it is never too late to do the right thing. The family has expressed willingness to pay for Nancy's safe return. The reward for information has grown substantially, now reaching a figure many times larger than the original offer, with billboards carrying Nancy's photograph displayed across major cities and highway corridors throughout the Southwest. The search operation itself has become one of the largest of its kind in recent memory. Hundreds of law enforcement personnel, helicopter deployments, trained search dogs, specialized technology including a signal detection device mounted to an aircraft and flown in grid patterns over the search area, scanning for transmissions from Nancy's pacemaker. Nearly 40,000 tips received from the public, each one requiring logging, evaluation, and follow-up. A search warrant executed at a residence just 2 miles from Nancy's home, which ended without an arrest but demonstrated how close investigators believe the answers may be. The family was formally cleared as suspects early in the investigation. Law enforcement was direct about it. They described the family as cooperative, gracious, and unambiguously the victims in this situation. A public statement was issued specifically because social media had begun to produce what it almost always produces in high-profile disappearance cases: baseless accusations, wild speculation, and cruelty directed at the people already in the most pain. The local sheriff addressed it plainly. Kindness matters. These are victims. Leave them alone.